Okay, it is now 4:02. We have waited the 2 minutes to allow more people. There will be more people joining, of course. Thanks everyone for being here for this high-level webinar under exceptional circumstances. On the 13th of March, a couple of months ago, we planned to be in the Design Museum of Milan for the Milano Digital Week, which is a landmark event which brings together hundreds of events, thousands of participants. And instead, the 8th of March, Prime Minister Conte introduced the lockdown in northern Italy, which then extended to all of Italy, to Europe, to the world. So actually, the Milano Digital Week is taking place this week, and we are digitally, of course, and we are very proud to be part of that. And thanks to Roberta Cocco for hosting us virtually. Cities have been at the forefront of this crisis. When the national government decided the lockdown, cities has to set up the emergency services for citizens. And now they are working together with citizens to make the opening up sustainable and long-term. And the move to digital public services, which was just gradually progressing after the Tallinn Declaration in 2017, became suddenly a reality in a matter of days. Digital suddenly was the only channel for government services, for health, for education, and digital government became what we now call an essential service. So how did the cities manage this transition? What worked, what didn't? How was collaboration with citizens effectively working? And what can we learn? What lessons can we learn to apply for greater resilience of cities, and not just of the two leading cities that we have here today, but for all European cities? This is what we're going to address today in this webinar. This is what we're going to hear. We have a great lineup of speakers. Before we go into that, let me briefly introduce you to the COVAL project. It's a European Commission funded project under Horizon 2020, 12 organizations working on co-creation of value in public services, understanding how it works, measuring it, investigating it, and improving public policy and practice with regard to co-creation. These are just some of the policy briefs, the events. Some of you have attended them that we have organized in the last 2.5 years. So the last time we met, this is what we ended up with, a set of policy recommendations for co-creation in public services, cross-departmental operational guidelines, building in-house competence, delivery at scale across government, measuring adoption rates, focusing on adoption, and through real-time data, support local government, and empower the innovators and the digital transformation agent within government. And consistency, not to change the priorities every time. And building on the debate of the last time, today we have a more hands-on debate, looking at really what happened concretely during the crisis and how even these recommendations were applied or not during the crisis. Today it's a very interactive webinar. So we will have a keynote by Roberta Cocco, Deputy Mayor of the Municipality of Milan, and by Martin Männil, Chief Information Officer of the City of Tallinn. These two cities will present their approach, their experience during the lockdown. We will then have a Q&A, so you probably see the questions button in the control panel. You're actually able already now to submit any question, and you can submit question anytime. We will take them during the Q&A session. After that, we are lucky enough to have a high-level panel discussion. We have Professor Ines Mergel, a partner of the project, a great expert of digital transformation and digital teams. We have Costas Kapsouropoulos, policy officer from the eGovernment unit of the European Commission. And we have Emilija Stojmenova, who leads the Digital Innovation Hub in Slovenia, who is providing practical help to public administration in Slovenia. After this discussion, which I will moderate, we will have a Q&A and the webinar, and the recording of the webinar will be available for everyone to see. So, without further ado, I think we can start. We are on time, and let me give the floor to Roberta Cocco, Deputy Mayor for Transformation and Citizen, Municipality of Milan, who is hosting us virtually, and we hope will be hosting us soon in person. Roberta, the floor is yours, and I will put on your presentation.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you very much to the Lisbon Council for organizing this kind of event, which are very important for us for several reasons. First of all, because we have the opportunity to share our projects and our experiences, and I strongly believe that we should work more and more together with cities, with the European Commission, with universities, with institutes of research, because we definitely are facing all the same issues. And so I'm happy that we succeeded in organizing this event even in a digital way. At the same time, I am a little bit sorry that I couldn't be able to host you in Milan during these days, because as David mentioned, these days are the Milano Digital Week days, and so we were supposed to hold this event in mid-March with more than 600 events spread across the city. We put off this event until now, so the end of May, and we are still organizing about 500 initiatives through the web. At the same time, I'm happy because this event is now completely, fully digital, and so it gives us the opportunity to reach people, you know, all over the world, much more than what we would have done if this would only in Milan, would have been only in Milan. But at the same time, we can also leverage the opportunity to be ready to listen and to watch presentation in this timing, but also to get the same content during you know, the next days, just connecting to the website and you know, downloading the contents on demand. If you can move a little bit to page 2, David. Okay, thank you. So let me give you a very quick overview how we reacted the terrible situation that COVID-19 you know, pushed us to do. First of all, we were working on a digital transformation plan since the beginning of this mandate, and so we had already built our digital transformation plan based on 4 pillars. On one side, the technological pillar, so we were modernizing our infrastructure, renovating our internal technological asset. At the same time, we were developing more and more digital services for our citizens. At the same time, other 2 pillars were addressed to the to spreading digital culture. And so we have been working for sharing the digital education to those people who are not at all connected to the new era, and at the same time pushing our youth to go for STEM studies, because even if there is in a certain point there are very different professions. We are all sure that the situation of our economy needed digital skills. When the pandemic arrived, we had to use this one. Oh, sorry, just 1 second. Okay. When the pandemic touched all of us, we decided to leverage the infrastructure we had to make a digital response to the request and the issues we had to face. And so we began from smart working. So about 50% of total employees from municipality had the opportunity to work from home, going on with their services. And so offering services to citizens and at the same time taking care of the backlog requests that we had. We also implemented the services to citizens in the best way we thought, which was to move all the services to mobile phones. Why? Because we discovered that even Milan, which is the capital of innovation in Italy, were not so well connected as we thought. And so we had to move our digital services to mobile phones. Why? It's easy to understand, because most of our citizens have in their pockets a mobile phone. So we began to make them possible to download information, certificates, digital services directly from their mobile. We implemented also our info line with just one number to get all the requests from different targets and audiences. And we also put together the phone line, also the chatbot from WhatsApp, that is easy to use for everyone because WhatsApp is very well known by all audiences. And so now, just using these chatbot through WhatsApp, you can get most of the information you need. And last but not least, we also worked on digital governance because we had the duty to go on with the governance of the city. And so we moved all the municipality committees and the mayor staff committee online, so that we had no black time. We went on managing the city. And the last phase, a couple of weeks ago, we launched a new project which is called Milano 2020, how we can face the future. And so my role was to offer the digital asset to all the different departments and also the services in order to help them to spread their value even more thanks to the digitalization. And so we worked to engage even more partners, public and private public partners, in order to develop new services for citizens. We began to work also with local partners to improve our capacity of offering digital education to people. And so we were able to reach thousands of citizens, offering them simple support if they were not able to do one thing or another thing through technology. And we implemented even more our capacity to collect and analyze data. We prepared different dashboard for the different services, and so we offer the deputy mayors and also the managers within the municipality a very simple tool to get the data through mobile phones and take the decision supported by data. I think that I give you quite even synthetic but complete overview how we reacted. Is very important to see how Milan was resilient to this terrible moment. Now we have to be as resilient as in the past, because we have to face the future and we have to offer positive and optimistic messages to population and to business. And today, more than ever, we need to work together with the European Commission, with the other cities, and with the local partners, because we have to be united in this effort to restart the city, restart the nation, restart at all levels our effort towards our citizens. So we want to offer all we have done in this month and in the previous years to be able to be part of a complex digital platform that can be used by different components of our ecosystem. And so this is our plan for Milan. Is a fully user-centered and data-driven city, and our effort, I really hope, might help someone else that is interested to go on working on the same path. Thank you so much.
So we cannot upload, but consider like we are uploading. Thank you very much, Roberta, for your insight. If you don't mind, I will wait to pose questions until we hear from the second panelist. So please feel free to submit questions also about Roberta or about Martin during the presentation of Martin. Martin, I will now make you a presenter so that you can show your presentation.
Hello. Very strange to be here in front of the screen. I'm Männil, Chief Information Officer of the City of Tallinn, and I'm not that fluent speaker as Roberta, so I will concentrate more on some specific things, more IT-related things that we have done in City of Tallinn, so you can get a little bit different perspective how we tackled the crisis. Well, you see my screen, I think. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. This one. The general situation in Estonia was that we had some little bit milder version of the lockdown compared to southern Europe, where schools and shopping malls and sport venues were closed. But for example, children daycare and parks and small stores were all open, and our medical system was not overloaded. We had a certain amount of casualties, but we weren't hit that hard, but like some Western or Southern European countries. And at the very beginning of the lockdown, our mayor decided that all city services must be available. Of course, due to the lockdown, some of them wasn't, but the idea was that you still must be able to apply for any service. So at the very beginning of the lockdown, we identified three main priorities for our central IT. First and foremost was to keep all our e-services up and running. and I will concentrate on this topic mainly on my presentation. But we also had to provide the home office capabilities for the city officials, teachers, and students. And also we wanted to all our existing development projects to continue as planned. Regarding to home office capabilities, we shared hundreds, actually thousands of computers for city officials, teachers, and the students. And for example, 99.2% of our students are participating in distance learning. So we consider it quite a success. And when it comes to city officials, I think we were in 1 week, everyone had the home office capabilities. We had to do some trainings. We had to raise the capacity of our terminal servers and stuff like that. But basically, it went quite well. Well, let's go to the e-services. First, I must describe you our e-service ecosystem a bit. I don't have a special slide for it, but we have more than 60 information systems that provide different e-services, and the ecosystem is set up in a way that e-service is usually one small part of process management system, and the process management part of the service is usually much more complex, and the e-service is like a tip of the iceberg on top of that. So, but because of that architecture, all our services were accessible for our citizens, but also for city officials from our home offices. And I have a couple of examples also. I listed 4 services that were traditionally not applied for in electronic format. The blue area is the period of the previous year, and the green one is from this year. And this shows that the amount of applications that were done in electronic format rose very, very rapidly. One part of it was that people really in Estonia obeyed the lockdown rules, and the other part was that we redesigned a couple of services which made it more easier for citizens to apply for the services in electronic format. For example, the childbirth allowance is tied with the service of giving name to a baby. You can't get the allowance if the baby don't have a name yet. And then naming the baby service was previously available as an e-service only for married couples, but the central government changed the law, and we also were able to provide this service as not married couples, and when they were able to name the baby on electronic via e-service, then of course they applied for the social benefit also through electronic service. So we saw a significant rise. There are many e-services where the e-service penetration is more than 90%, but these were traditionally applied by coming to office. One other view of this chart. Then the second one, our city applied many measures that were meant to soften the damage of this lockdown, and but these measures must be applied by city council, like easing taxes or changing the prices for many services. But how can our city council gather if there is lockdown? So we created in 3 weeks e-solutions where the council members logged in via via electronic identity with our ID card, and the picture came from Microsoft Teams, and so they were able to help the council meetings and also vote in a way that was considered legally binding by our lawyers. And actually, now is already fourth of this kind of meeting running at the moment, and I don't know if the picture streams now. Now I wanted to show you, because one city council meeting is actually now ongoing. Does it load? Does it load? Does it load? Well, of course, yeah, maybe I can show you. Okay, they are not voting at the moment, but one city council member is asking questions. So I will close this one so it doesn't affect my connection. So that's the screenshot of the system. That's how working our city council used to be, and that's how it was. Let's see, a couple of ladies here are probably not obeying the lockdown rules or the social distancing rules. Well, then our municipal police needed to carry out many patrols to see if playgrounds are not used or sports venues are not used. So in 1 week we created a mobile solution which enabled them to plan and enter the results of the patrols. So that was done. Then crisis. We created many web-based forms for crisis-related data collection because they were very easy to create, much easier than for example, normal e-services or service management system. Then we created 2 dashboards. This is for unemployment. It's in Estonian. You don't understand anything. And the other is for, I don't know if it's loading for you, and the other is our general city management dashboard, and we added some C19 related tabs here. This 66 is, for example, deaths in Estonia, and there is in the corner there's also a chatbot here. Well, what else? And yeah, my time is probably up. Lessons learned. You should build up your e-services ecosystem in a way that it's robust, it's scalable, and it's not dependent on people being able to go to their offices. In Estonia, we are very lucky to have 3 very important pillars. One is we have e-identity, nationwide e-identity, and the second is that we have a nationwide secure data integration layer. So it makes us very easy to create new like microservices and integrate it to different and integrate the microservices with other existing microservices, and so our development cycle is shorter that way. And also what we discovered that we should pay much more attention on user-centric design. During the lockdown period, we discovered that many of our services were not so user-friendly. They had some steps that were not fully covered by electronic services, like the example of the not married couples getting a child. And so we understood that we must put a lot of more effort to this user centricism. So, well, that was my very short presentation. Thank you.
That was excellent. Thank you very much. And to be honest, it's striking how similar the type of initiatives that you both have set up and the problem that you managed to solve and the points that you underline is very important. We have some questions for you. One is from Ines, one of the panelists, and it's about you both are very well advanced in terms of service delivery. What was the additional? You both mentioned it during the call, but what was the additional step that you had to put in place during the emergency that was missing before? Even though, I mean, for instance, Estonia is supposed to be all digital, but still there were things that had to be done. What was it?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. In our case, we had to consider how our services could reach citizens in the simplest, in the smartest, and in the shortest possible way. So we had a lot of services on the website, but we had to work to move those digital services to the device that everyone has, which is the mobile phone. So I had this idea from the very beginning. One of my payoff was mobile first, one click, which was how we could develop services embedded for mobile, but coming from a previous situation, which was far from a real digitalization, we had to go step by step. We didn't want to rush. We had to prepare the background in a very solid way. And so we began from changing the processes and then moving to the website, helping our citizens to be able to use those services, and then moving those services to mobile. And in this emergency, we had to face the need of, accelerating our path. And so we had to begin one by one to the most important services and to move them on mobile through app, for example, application, through reinforcing our interoperable project in order to get data from different sources in a simpler way, and also to change completely the way we communicate with citizens. And so the example I just mentioned, the chatbot with WhatsApp, was the single project that helped us to be able to be connected to citizens in a way, in a digital way, they already knew.
Martin.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing, at least our IT struggled with most, the processes that were traditionally not covered by electronic tools, like having any types of meetings. The meetings that must have a legally binding result, like a protocol or decision or something like that. So that's what we and there were some other examples similar to this. So this was what we were struggling, and what else? We figured quite quickly out that if rapid changes are needed, then there must be available some kind of development resource like Cavalry that comes very quickly and starts developing but we have all these restrictions like public tender law, etc. So we must have some kind of precisely related capability which allows us to very quickly start new developments. That was definitely something. And I think one one thing we are really bad in general in Estonia is probably communication. How to communicate with the public in a way that there is just enough information to provide only the necessary information, not to scare them too much. It's not, of course, my domain, but we saw that we probably scared the public in Estonia too much, and we were not giving them any other message than just stay at home, stay at home, stay at home. We should have probably communicated on a little bit deeper what actually this virus is, what it does, what's the prognosis, but it was really straightforward all the way.
Thank you very much. We have an additional question, which is about the digital divide. It's from Luca Alessandro Remotti. So how, you mentioned many very high percentages, 80% of certificates, 99% of students, 80% of birth registration. What about the others? What did you put in place for the others? Before we go there, I would like just to check if our connection with the European Commission works, because I know they've joined via telephone, but I want to see if we can hear Costas. Costas, can you try to speak? We cannot hear you, Costas, unfortunately. Okay, we'll check on this in a moment. Okay. While we do that, would you like to answer these questions, basically about how to reach? The numbers are very high, and much higher than they were before, that's clear. Yeah. But what do we do about the rest? Roberta, would you like to answer this?
I didn't hear your question. Can you repeat?
Yes, basically how to reach the remaining 20%, how to reach those who were digitally excluded. What did you put in place?
Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, so the digital divide was a very difficult issue to cover in our past. And of course, Milan was different also in the before this terrible sanitary emergency, but we still are suffering from quite a wide digital divide. I think that in these 4 years of this mandate, we boost the digitalization and working from one side on digital, from the other side on digital culture, so digital education. We are taking the two, perspective of the same problem. In these months, we saw that we reached more than 80% of certificates downloaded from the website or from the citizens themselves. But I think it's just for the period. If I would guess which is the real percentage we are now around, is about 65, maximum 70%. How to reach the rest of the population? We have to go on with digital education. And at least for Milan, we are not ready, we are not able to do those kind of activities ourselves. We definitely have to leverage the support of private sector that can help us in offering education to citizens, because thinking of ICT companies or technological consultant company or other kind of companies can really offer their core business to support a social issue. So I do not think we have to put more money or more resources ourselves as public sector. We have to manage partnership, strong partnership, valuable partnership with private sector to offer the right level of education among citizens.
Okay.
I think I answer in two parts. How did we reach that high e-service penetration? For example, we have, I think, 98% of the tax reports are done in electronic format annually. It was started actually 25 years ago by by training a big chunk of our population with digital skills. And I don't know if the skills were actually that important, but probably the most important was that the companies who provided it and the government supporting it were managed to create that kind of sentiment that E is something cool. Estonia is e-country, and the e-solutions were considered safe and user friendly. And of course, the e-service usage is higher for these services, which are designed better. But of course, we have also a digital gap, and there always will be a digital gap. It's actually quite simple solution in our case. For every city service which you can apply for in electronic format, you can also apply for it by coming to city, and you can give application on paper. If you give it to city an application on paper, then it's digitalized by the city official and managed in electronic format from that point on. But you can apply for every city service on paper format, and it will be that way.
Thank you very much. So I think we are running a bit late now. So if you don't mind, I thank the two keynotes, and I move to the panel discussion. So
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Costas, we can hear you.
Oh, very good. Very good.
What a surprise.
I could hear, that was a very good surprise, and a good surprise for me too. And also would like to say that I heard nearly everything from the experience of Milano, and also from the experience of Tallinn. These are very, very useful experiences, and actually we are seeking these sort of experiences during the lockdown, how cities, how municipalities dealt with that. These are very useful for our internal discussion, internal preparation for the future digital government. And we really need it because we are going to build this digital government, the future digital government, together. It's about co-creation. And actually, that's the essence of the COVAL project, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know if I have some time to say a bit, 2 or 3 words further.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, because this webinar takes place in the aftermath of a bold and historic proposal by the European Commission for a major recovery plan, and I think it is a good opportunity also to mention that here in your webinar. As you know, the Commission proposed yesterday its roadmap to recovery, the next generation EU of 750 billion euros, embedded within a powerful, modern and revamped long-term EU budget for 21-27, which will bring the total financial power of the EU budget to 1,085 billion euros. As you can see, this is unprecedented. And why I mention all that? Because digital government is among the policy fundamentals for recovery. It is included in the recovery package that was presented yesterday by the European Commission. Now, as you have said also through the experiences in the cities, COVID, in its dramatic consequences, highlighted dramatically the need for a revamped digital government. And this is very much linked to the fact that digital government solutions are vital when face-to-face interactions are impeded. We have seen in a dramatic context that digital solutions have to take into account, have to facilitate citizens' inclusion and convenience, but also to take into account the data privacy concerns and security concerns of the citizens. And that's what the European Commission is going to do in its future digital government. We will take that into account very much. Now, digital government is also linked to technology. It's very much linked to the technology, and this is very much linked with the priority of this Commission, which is digital sovereignty. The COVID pandemic highlighted in a dramatic way the need to affirm European digital sovereignty. We have seen the importance of digital services, their centrality in our daily lives, but also their potential risk to security and privacy, but also the need to lessen our technological dependence on foreign suppliers and the deepening threat of disinformation. All these are lessons to be learned. We will take all the conclusions from all this situation in bringing forward our future digital government. And as I said, we will need in these all the experiences from the municipalities, from the cities. We have to connect effectively the European, the national, the local and regional level in order to shape the future digital government. Of course, the main drivers of this digital government policy will be the once-only principle, which we want to have it spread in the entire public sector. The digital identity will play a key role, the digital identity under eIDAS regulation, a secure, trustworthy means to achieve trustworthy access for everybody, for all European citizens, to digital public services. And that's what we're going to see also in the ongoing revision of the eIDAS regulation. And also we will see how to make this digital government more citizen-centric, data-driven, and that's also a fact because we see that data play an increasing role in the processes. We have seen, of course, the mobile, and I heard about the experience in Milan. So all these things will be taken into account, and we will be in continuous dialogue with you, with the municipalities, to do that. That's what I wanted to say from the point of view of the European Commission.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, and a really timely intervention in view of what happened yesterday. So let us now move to a little bit of the perspective from an outsider, scholar of this. Ines, how do you see, I mean, you have a broad view, not only about Germany, about Europe, but also probably global. What do you make of the changes that have been going on? How do you help us make sense of all this?
Yeah, thank you so much. Those were wonderful keynotes and also a great perspective from the European Commission. So what I've observed, I've done research during this time, very ad hoc in the same way that also ad hoc services emerged and municipalities and also federal and national governments had to move into digital. What I've observed is that oftentimes, in terms of advancing digital services, we need this type of high-level political urgency that needs to be raised to a level so that digital is not just a nice thing on the side to have, because everything kind of works anyway, and the bureaucracy is old and it delivers services if you walk into the building. Now, if we can't walk into a building anymore, we had to replace this with digital. So there was no way around it. We've seen this in similar pressures, for example, in Germany during the 2015 refugee crisis, where there was just simply in terms of the numbers and in terms of the scaling up of services, there was no alternative. It had to be moved from analog or from paper-based forms into digital. In this world now, there is very little room for user-centricity. This is not a negative thing. Things had to happen in an amazingly fast way. So a lot of the things that we had learned during the past few years, that we can't design services just from the internal logic of interpreting policies. We have to include citizens and also civil society into the design of services. We have learned a lot during those last years, but in these ad hoc moments, we had to be pragmatic. This is what I have observed, that literally that's the German government, for example, overnight, this is a bit of an exaggeration, but they had to overnight provide financial aid to citizens and to companies. This, in my opinion, could not have happened without a working bureaucracy, with, you know, thinking about what are the services that are already in place, offline and analog and paper-based. How can we really fast and ad hoc move them online? In these times, I believe that municipalities and other government agencies had to accept manageable risk. Not everything could have been built for a 1,000-year project, right? In the way that we usually like to design huge new systems. We like to have all the specs in place. We like to think about all the exceptions that need to be in place, and prepare forms and privacy regulations for all these different types of problems that might occur, because in bureaucracies we live in zero failure cultures. And I think COVID has shown us that we can do pragmatic things, and that we might, you know, have to work a bit now to make this sustainable, and to also think about what are the things that we need to adjust now that we are potentially moving this into the new normal. We don't know this yet. I think we are still in that phase where we might think about, you know, can the old normal come back? So can we move back into our buildings from our home offices back into the actual offices? But if we are realistic, that this is a really shift in time where probably this will go on until a vaccine is there, and we have lots of also risk populations that we are serving in government, but also part of the civil servants are part of the at-risk population. So we need to be really careful in now navigating how do we move all the lessons learned really from the home office into the new real life, and what needs to be adjusted. We just talked about user centricity. I think that's a huge thing, and along the way we might have missed out on some of those things, or they became very apparent that in previous iterations of e-services we might have not thought about them. So we need to bring civil society back in, understand what different groups within civil society actually need. We already talked about access and digital divide and all these things. I think what we've seen is that that building digital fluency is not just something that civil servants need to be able to focus on, you know, moving from one type of IT system to another, but we also need to prepare our citizens to do that. I don't think we've talked enough about this, because we looked very much into, you know, how we're serving citizens, but then also our users are internal to government. So we also need to find the right systems and not have tons of different, maybe even IT shadow systems in place on how to use collaborative tools, for example, how to use different types of video conferencing systems. And I think what was apparent here was that, at least in my type of research that I've done, that we are still working in very deep silos, and resource and ministries are making their own IT decisions, and we need to work more on making those decisions in a more collaborative way, so that we can then also, you know, work collaboratively across different government agencies, for example. There are lots of more things, but I think I will stop here and let maybe Emilija also talk to us.
That's very kind of all of you, Ines, and many thanks for this insight. So, Emilija, thanks a lot for being here. You bring the perspective of a digital innovation hub, and one of the questions I have for you is pretty straightforward: is how can we make sure that all cities can be like Milan and Tallinn, or at least not offer dramatically different services to their citizens?
Thank you so much. Okay, sorry. It was great to hearing from Milan and Tallinn what is happening there, but they're both bigger cities, and as you probably are aware of, I'm coming from Slovenia, where we have one major city, which is the capital of Ljubljana, and then a lot of smaller cities, towns. And the digital divide that was already mentioned today in Slovenia is very big. If we see what are the digital skills in the rural areas, and then if we compare them with the digital skills in the urban areas, there is a huge divide here. And we noticed this also during COVID because we work a lot in our digital innovation hub with the Association of Municipalities and Towns in Slovenia. And if some bigger municipalities like Ljubljana and Maribor didn't have a lot of problems because they already had these e-services that the representatives of Milan and Tallinn were explaining as well. And these services were easy to use. For many of the municipalities, they were not even able to have meetings. So the first thing that we did is we wanted to show them what tools are already available and they can immediately start using. So we started preparing a list of tools and then showing them the advantages, the disadvantages of each of those tools. So we were surprised that many of the municipalities were not used to using digital tools for their communication. Then we started organizing webinars about how they can have the council meetings, and then we also were looking for some legal actions as well, because these were all the challenges that were appearing. And in our case, what we did, because as a digital innovation hub, we want to really support the municipalities in the digital transformation, is we wanted to see what are the priorities in terms of digital transformation. So if David, if that is okay, I would like to share my screen now, and I would like to show the tool we have developed in our digital innovation hub, where we are, okay.
You're the presenter.
Yes, thank you so much. So here you can see, I'm sorry, this tool is in Slovene because it is made for the Slovene municipalities. And you have a map of Slovenia, and you can see in Slovenia we have 212 municipalities. So we have listed 10 priorities, and they're like infrastructure, culture, tourism, health and active living, environmental issues, mobility, then it's safety and protection, it's local supply and production, e-citizenship, employment, and of course education and social care. And in we did a survey with the Slovenian municipalities, and we wanted to see where their priorities are. So, David, I really liked what you have added in your presentation today. So use real-time data. And this tool is showing real-time data because the municipalities, they are filling in a questionnaire, and we can see really what are their needs. And for example, now I have selected infrastructure, so resources and infrastructure, and you can see which municipalities in Slovenia it's the priorities in terms of digitalization where that is. So why this tool is useful for us is because we work a lot with the Ministry of Public Administration, and now when they're preparing different tenders, different measures as well for the Slovenian municipalities, they're using this tool to see what are the needs of the municipalities and to prepare the measures in that way. So currently they're working on a call for the Slovenian municipalities, and the topics they're funding, they see what are really the biggest needs here. Another thing why this is very important is because you can see in Slovenia we have very small municipalities with just several thousand of citizens, for example. Okay, here we have Horjul, it's only 2,000 citizens. And of course, they have lack of resources, they have lack of experts, they have lack of knowledge, of funds, and so on and so on. So for them, it's crucial they work together. Also to offer services together and to have common digital platforms. So here again, this tool is used. Municipalities can find what other municipalities have similar demands, similar needs, and then they can build consortiums. They can apply for different projects, for different funds. in the tool on the right side, you can see a municipality, and then it's selected what their goals are, what their existing solutions. So another municipality can easily see if a neighbor municipality or someone, some other municipality in Slovenia has already the solutions they need, and then they can come in contact with them. So this is slowly what I wanted to say, but for example, it's really that most of the time we forget about the smaller municipalities, and for them it's not very easy to develop all these e-services. So we need to find a way to bring them in.
This is very nice and very much important. I'm really sorry that it's 5 o'clock and I have so many questions to ask, and I think people would like to intervene, but we said 1 hour and we stick to the timing. So if you forgive me, I will get back and go back to the conclusion quickly. And I take the opportunity to thank all the speakers, and I'm actually very happy that the time is too short, because this is always a sign that this was worth our time. So better to keep it short and stay in touch for the future and continue this discussion. Of course, we will have more webinars and policy brief. We have a final scientific conference in Madrid on service co-creation. We have research reports coming. Ines is just one of the many partners of the project, and everyone is working, as you can see here, is working very hard to deliver new insight that helps policymakers navigate in these troubled times. So without further ado, I have one question, of course, right now. Well, thanks. People are thanking through the question, are hacking the question function to thank, and I think that we can think of no better way to end this. Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry this was too short, but I'm also happy that it was too short. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.